Hello and welcome to the Trappings and Trinkets knitting podcast, last one of 2017, because I am recording this on New Year's Eve day. So I hope that everybody's getting ready to have their celebrations tonight, although you won't see this till after it's already New Year. So Happy New Year! Welcome to 2018. I haven't podcast since Christmas, so I was going to start with a little handmade Christmas. That's a thing that my mother, my sister, and I do. And everyone in the family that is capable of making something is actually invited to do it with us, but no one else has decided to participate as of yet. We've probably been doing it for 5 or 6 years, maybe. So since it's only the three of us, we always know that whoever we gave a gift to this year, we're going to give it to the other person next year, because with 3 people, you just kind of rotate like that. So whoever gave you a gift this year, the other person is going to give you something next year. So it's a lot of fun, and we always make something. This year, I really think we outdid ourselves. Like this year, I feel like the group of things that we made for each other was like the best group of things that we've ever done. So I'll put a picture in here, but you've already seen the things that I made for my mother. I made her the Hannah hat. I made it out of pashmina, metal and tash pashmina, held double. And I also made her a pair of mittens, and I think they were called Crisp Apple Strudel. And the pattern is written as fingerless mittens, but I just went ahead and made them full length, over the finger sort of mittens. And then I also designed an extra hat, because the Hannah hat, while it is super cute and fashionable, it's not really a warm winter hat because it doesn't cover your ears. So I made her the fashion hat, and then I also made her a stocking cap, and that is something that she can wear like if she's out for a walk or if she's doing something in the winter that she just wants to stay warm. So those are the things that I made for my mom. My mom gave my sister the handmade gift this year, and she painted 3 still lifes. I think it was an apple pear and a lemon, and they turned out really well. She used like a real deep indigo for the background, and she's quite a capable artist. So I really liked how she did the light in the pictures. You felt like they were real because the light was bouncing off of them. So those will look good in my sister's kitchen. And my sister made for me, I'll flash back here because I actually have it hanging up right here above our mantle. I think it's popular in the Midwest. I don't know if it's popular in other areas of the country or in the world. But if you are familiar with like the art studios that will host these like drink wine and paint a picture sort of classes, or like fun ladies' nights or that kind of thing, this is the same type of place that would do a workshop for one of these signs. And a lot of times they will be family signs. It'll have like the last name of the family. Maybe it'll have the year that the parents got married, like established in 1998 or whatever. Or maybe it'll have, like ours has, the names of the people in the family. But they're really cute, and it actually went really well over our mantle. I was kind of thinking at first, I'll show you. Here, we'll rotate so you can see more of the room here. So you see over here we have some big bay windows, and there's a big soffit above the window right there. And I thought, maybe we could hang the sign right there above the window. But as it turned out, this sign is basically like the exact same depth as that soffit. So it just looked really crowded over there. And so we decided maybe that wouldn't be the best place for it. And it actually, I think it looks really good over the mantle. So hooray for that. And we really like it. And I think my sister did a great job on it. So I loved my gift, and I hope that the other 2 like theirs a lot. I like theirs. So that was our handmade Christmas. Did you like my camera panning? I have the camera sitting on a box in front of me, so that was very, very good camera panning. Okay, so I think that's about it for Christmas. We had a nice time. I hope you guys had a nice time. The day after Christmas for our family, I think I mentioned this in the last podcast, but then I was afraid to say too much because I didn't know exactly who knew what. But my great-grandpa, no, I'm sorry, not my great-grandpa. My grandpa, my children's great-grandpa, he turned 90 the day after Christmas. And so we had a big celebration for him because we figure if you make it to 90, you deserve a party. So we had an open house, And it was really fun because a lot of these people I probably haven't seen since I was a teenager and actually lived in that town. Because these are people that I would mostly see if I was at my grandparents and they happened to stop by. So it's probably been, 25 years, maybe a little bit more since I've seen some of these people. But it was really nice to see some of his friends and neighbors, and there was a couple of relatives that we don't see very often but still live in the area. So they all just kind of stopped into my parents' house over that afternoon. And my mom had put together a really nice slideshow of pictures from just throughout his life, and a lot of them that were young-ish pictures. Like she had some childhood pictures, and she used to work at the local high school, and that's the high school that he attended way before her time. But she managed to get some yearbook photos from the years that he attended, and so we found out things about, like, I didn't know he was president of the student council. I didn't even know there was a club called, like, I think it was like machinist mate, something like that. I don't know. I didn't even understand. I assumed like it was let's work on like some sort of engineering thing maybe, but I don't know. So I didn't realize he was like an involved high school kid, but apparently he was. His class was pretty small, so I wonder how much of that was like, we have some clubs and we need kids to be in them. So how about everybody should be in the clubs? He was on the school newspaper. Anyway, it was fun to see that. The other fun thing about our Christmas celebration was that my family, my cousin, who is just a couple years older than me, she lives in Florida with her husband and 2 kids who are just a few years older than my kids. And so we have managed to see each other, I would say, pretty consistently over the last 10 years. We've probably seen each other every year or two. We've gone down there quite a few times, and they've come up here a few times. But they hadn't been up to Illinois, I think, since my grandma, the grandpa who just turned 90, his wife died in 2013 or 14. But that was the last time that the Florida family had been up to Illinois. So, and that was in May. So I'm not sure when the last time they were up here in the cold was, but it was kind of hilarious to watch them experience the cold. We had a really cold snap in Illinois on Christmas Day, and it really, I don't know, like we've had a couple of maybe high teens days since then, but it's been pretty cold since Christmas. And so watching, like, they wanted to wear leggings and tights under their jeans, and we kept saying, like, just wear your jeans and don't spend time outside. Like, that's how we cope with it. We wear our clothes, we put our coat on, we get in our car, we drive somewhere, we go inside. Like, when the weather's like this, we just don't spend a lot of time outside. So it was great to see them, and it was a lot of fun to celebrate my grandpa's birthday. So we had a good holiday. I hope that you did too. I hope you got to spend a lot of time with the people that make you happy and that you enjoy being with. While I was traveling, we have about a 2-hour car ride each way to get to my parents' house. So I had some time to knit, and I worked on a sample. This is a sample that I'm re-knitting from a pattern that I designed a long time ago. And it's called the Sadie baby dress. And if I zoom in here, you can see that there's a little textured band here. That's a little seed stitch business there. And that band should hit the baby. You know how most babies have like a cute little belly that sticks out? Well, this band should hit them right above that cute little belly that sticks out. So the top of the bodice really is fitted, but then there's lots of room in the skirt. So it's like an empire waist sort of thing. So it doesn't matter how roly-poly that baby is. If you get that band above the belly, then this dress will fit them just fine. So this is a 12-month size, and it kind of looks like it's sleeveless, but actually this bodice is designed so that it's like a little short dolman sleeve. So actually the shoulders will probably stop around there, and this faux sleeveless sleeve will fold over so it kind of looks like a short sleeve. So it's hard to see when it's not on a person, but there we go. That's better. So it'll kind of look like that. And you can see, if you look at the pattern pictures, you can see how it's supposed to fit. But I think that causes some confusion because I do see, well, maybe it's not confusion. So there's a couple things that might be going on. I see in a lot of the project photos, I see it worn very much as a sleeveless dress, and I wonder if people are thinking, oh, that sleeve depth seems short, I should make it longer. If you do that, it will fit like a sleeveless dress, because the thing that makes these sleeves pull over like that is the fact that the sleeve hole is a snug fit. So if I were to make this deeper right here and make more room, then this would just kind of be, it would look like a floppy sleeveless dress. So if you leave it the depth it's written as, and you let it be a little snug, then it will fold over like this. The other thing that could be going on is that when you knit for babies, you go, well, I'm not going to knit the size they need right now. I'm going to knit the size they're growing into. But then you get excited and you take a project picture like as soon as you get it done. So it could just be that they're thinking, well, I know this will fit right, you know, in a couple months. So that may just be what it is. I don't know. This pattern is actually on my list of things to do this month. I would like to give this pattern a little refresh and revamp. There aren't any errors in it that I'm aware of, and I think this pattern's been out since 2011, and certainly I have corrected errors in it, but I think that we've got all the kinks worked out now. But I would like to put a schematic in it, because I think that might help a little bit with people wondering like what exactly is going on, like why do the sleeves look like that in the picture, but then when I put it on my baby it looks like a sleeveless dress. So I might be able to clear that up a little bit with a schematic. So that is on my radar of things to do. So like if you bought that pattern today, there would not be a schematic included, but in a month from now there would be, and you will, you know, if you're interested in that baby dress, you will get the updated version when it becomes available. So if you feel like you don't really need a schematic, but you might like one, you could start today and you'll get that schematic in the next month or so. But anyway, so for what it's worth, it's on my list of things to do, but I'm re-knitting it because I have a little trunk show scheduled about a month and a half from now. So I'm re-knitting a couple of things that I no longer have the samples to, because I would like to be able to show those at the trunk show. Oh, and it has little buttons in the back. So if you open up that neckline, then this is very big, and it's very easy to slip that right over baby's head and then just button up the back. I got these buttons on a vacation. We went to Toronto about 3 or 4 years ago, and I think that's where these are from. We stopped at a store called Nitka, and while I wasn't super excited about the yarns that they had there, because it was a lot of just straight up solid color yarn, it was kind of like if you would go to a store that was just like the Cascade store, but like they didn't even have like all the different kinds of Cascade. It was just like Cascade 220 store or Cascade Superwash store. Like that's how the Nitka store felt. It was just one brand of yarn, solid colors. I don't even remember if it was a lot of different weights of yarn. It was just very, very uniform, very plain. So that wasn't really my jam, but they had adorable buttons. So I bought a lot of buttons while I was there, and I'm still using them. This was kind of my my social knit, because okay, here's the other thing I wanted to talk about this pattern. So here is something important to know about the Sadie baby dress, and I did finally write a little note about this in the pattern because I got so many people kind of questioning why it was done this way. So I thought, well, I'll just give them the explanation of why I did it this way. I'm sure it doesn't satisfy everyone, but this is what's going on with this dress. So this dress starts with a provisional cast on right here at the bottom of this seed stitch band. Now, why didn't I do it as a bottom up or a top down design? There is a reason. There's a couple reasons actually. Reason number one is this band right here is what needs to fit your baby. So if you're not a big swatcher, here's what you do. You start with a provisional cast on, you knit this band, you wash it, and then you slip that band over your baby. Is it the right size? Does it fit them? It should be snug. It shouldn't be real loose, but it shouldn't be real tight. So it should fit them. It should just be a fitted band. If you are off, if you need to change your needle size, well, look, you only just knit like 1.5 inches. that's not a lot to take out. But if I started you down here and, oh, this is the wrong size, well, that's a lot to take out. Or, I mean, there are ways you can fudge it. But if you're a person that doesn't really like to fudge, that's a lot to take out. If I had started you at the top here and you had to knit down to the band before you figured out if it fit or not, that's a lot to take out. So, reason number one was for ease of fit. I want you to have to do the least amount of re-knitting if you don't have the right size. Now, here's reason number two. This pattern was originally conceived as a flexible pattern where you could either knit the skirt or you could knit the bodice and then sew on a skirt. In the end, because I was actually knitting another pattern I was writing another pattern at the same time, and it was a sock monkey lovey blanket where you knit like a monkey head, and then you had a choice on the pattern. You could either knit the blanket that also goes with the head, or you could sew on a fabric blanket. And that pattern got published right before this, I think, and it what it taught me was that knitters do not want to sew. So I had like a bunch of projects come on that monkey blanket where people were knitting the blanket, but I had 0 projects where people were sewing a blanket. So I said, okay, well, people don't really want to sew. So it would have been a lot for me to kind of give the sewing instructions to do the skirt, especially if I was coming from a place of giving people all the information and assuming they didn't know a lot about sewing. So I just decided, that's going to be a lot. It's going to add a lot of pages to this pattern. If nobody's going to, if very few people are going to end up using it, it's probably not worth it. And then I also thought, if you know how to sew, you're going to figure out how to sew a skirt onto this bodice. So if I just give you the pattern to make the bodice first, and then later you pick up stitches from that provisional cast on and knit down and do the skirt. If you wanted to do a fabric skirt and you knew how to sew, that would not be a difficult thing to do. So that's reason number two. And reason number three, and this is the reason that I like doing this pattern, and actually I used this when I knit it this time. I worked really hard to get the bodice done because I knew I had knit night coming up. And so at the start of knit night, I just picked up that provisional cast on, and I got to spend my entire knit night just doing stockinette in the round, not having to think too much about it. There are no increases and decreases for shaping here. Basically, you pick up, and then you have the very first row is a bunch of increases, and then from then on out, you're just knitting the same number of stitches, and then the only thing you have to do is remember to do a little seed stitch hem here. So it's a very easy social knitting pattern. So those 3 reasons are why this is a working from the middle, going up to do the bodice, and then picking up stitches and going down to do the skirt. So I swear, I really do think these things through, but I know that, if you're just a person reading the pattern and you think, well, why not? Oh, there's a 4th reason. I almost forgot about this. And actually, this was another important one, because I wanted you to be able to be flexible in the amount of yarn you had. And I was really glad that I had written it this way, because when I knit this sample, I had like 2 feet of yarn left after I finished the skirt. Like, that's how close I cut it. So my thinking was, if I pick up stitches here and knit down, if you are a little bit short on yarn, oh, that's okay. You'll just have a slightly shorter skirt. If you have some extra yarn and you want to get rid of it, great. Maybe this will be a longer skirt. But I thought it was nice to be flexible in that way. That way, you could even say, well, I have a lot less yarn. I'll just make it a tunic. I'll cut it off here and put some little leggings on that baby, and she'll just have a tunic instead of a dress. So there you go. There's 4 reasons why it was constructed this way. Yep, da-da-da. All right, enough about the Sadie baby dress. Let's talk about my 3-in-1 button boots. So I've talked about these before, and I'm not going to say too much this time other than to say the second boot went much better than the first boot. So you can't see these great, they don't look so great just being held up here. So I'll put a picture in so that you can see what they actually look like on my feet. But in past podcasts, I know I did talk a little bit about the fact that the pattern kind of made me crazy. I felt like I didn't know what was going on. I felt like things maybe were written in a not so standard way that I found confusing. But once I knew what was going on, once I understood that these were just in a double, I think it's called double moss stitch, where it's like seed stitch, but instead of alternating every other row, there's like 2 rows that are the same and then 2 rows that alternate. 2 rows that are the same, 2 more rows that are the same but alternate. So once I understood what was going on, then it really wasn't that difficult. I still had some trouble on the second boot with the sole stitches not quite seeming like they were working out. But again, I just fudged it and it was fine. But anyway, and I honestly, I had to laugh because, so this is a Knit Picks pattern. I didn't realize because I bought it off of Ravelry. But on the Knit Picks website, sometimes they feature patterns from their independent designers program. And this was one that they featured I think right before Christmas. And so, they put the picture up. They said, hey, look at these 3-in-1 button boots. And then somebody commented on this post and said something like, oh yeah, this pattern was so great and so easy to understand. And so just once again, it totally could just be me, because there are a lot of projects linked to this pattern page. I'm not sure why so many people find the pattern doable and easy to read, and I don't. So maybe it's just me. I don't know. So anyway, I made those out of Plymouth Bulky, I think it was called. Plymouth Bulky. It was just like a merino, maybe acrylic blend. The yarn was nice. They turned out really well. And I am still hoping to get some rubber soles for them. And I also want to try lining it with some Sherpa, like the sheepy fabric that you might see in commercially produced boots. So that's my next step. So speaking of Christmas, there wasn't much that I asked for this year. And I will say, I think this is the first Christmas in a long time that I really haven't been given any sort of knitting stuff. Oh, that's a lie. My children gave me a gift card to my knitting store. So I guess that's knitting stuff. But one thing that I did ask for was a pendant on a long chain, because I feel like I have a lot of kind of plain oversized sweaters right now. And they're really, here, I'll show you. I'm wearing one of them today. So I feel like this is very plain. And so I kind of like having a little something to wear with it. So nobody took me up on my offer to pick out a pendant with a long chain for me. So I happened to be out at the craft stores the day after Christmas, and I thought, well, I'm just going to go look and see if I can find a pendant that I like, and then I'll just put it on a chain myself. So that's what I did, and I actually found 3 pendants that I liked. So now I have a whole necklace wardrobe. The first one I found, these are all from Hobby Lobby. So I found this one, and it's just like a painted, like it's just on metal. It's just like a little painted, and there is a little texture there, and I'm not sure if it's coming across on the camera, but there's some glitter in with that too. And then I have another one that's very similar, and that kind of looks like a peacock feather. And then the last one is like it's a tree, silver tree. And as you can see, they're all on chain that is identical to each other, because I just bought one of these rolls of chain from Hobby Lobby. So I don't know, it was $10, and how many yards are on there? 6 yards. So I was aiming for chains that were about 32 inches in length. So that means I have enough on that roll that I could make 6 of these necklaces for $10. And these pendants, I think they were on sale, but I think they're only like $3 or $4. So that's pretty inexpensive for a little craft project. You certainly would pay more for those if you bought them, at Kohl's or Bergner's or whatever. So I'm not a jewelry making genius, but I do have like the correct tool for jewelry making. And you could you're probably looking at those and going, well, those are needle nose pliers. Yeah, they are, but they also have this area right here, and this is a cutting tool right here in the middle. So this is for, manipulating small things here on the tips. But then behind that is a place where you can cut things, metal things, and actually that's how I got the chain cut off of the roll. I just put it through this middle thing and just bit right into it. But basically, all that jewelry making entails, if you're making a necklace, is you want to get a clasp. So let me show you what these clasps look like. All right, so you know what a necklace clasp looks like, right? So there's your clasp, and this ring right here is what you're going to attach to the necklace. And this ring does it have a split? No, I don't think so. So this big ring did not have it wasn't split, so I couldn't, bend it and then put the chain in and bend it back. So I actually had to bend the chain link and I just used my little tool here. So I stuck it in that hole, I bent it, I put it around the bigger circle, and then I bent it back in place so it would stay. And then on the other end, this whole thing right here is the other end of the clasp. So this is the big loop that you're attaching to the necklace chain. And this 2 inches or so, or 3 inches of chain is what gives you a little flexibility in how long or short you want your necklace to be. So that's nice too. So if I have a sweater with a really big neck, I might make it a little bit longer. If I'm wearing it with something that's more of a cowl neck or a crew neck, then I could make the necklace a little bit shorter. And then, so this is where I had to fudge it a little bit, because I actually bought some rings so that I could put this pendant on the chain, because as you see, the hole that's in the pendant is too small to actually fit the chain through. And plus, if I did that, then it would face like this. So you actually need to put a little loop on the pendant so that it will hang nicely on the chain. But the little rings that I bought didn't have a split in them. So there was no way for me to bend it to get it onto the pendant. So honestly, I don't know how I messed that up. But anyway, when I go to the craft store next time, I'm going to buy some split rings. But for now, I just used another link from the chain. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see that, but this is just a link from the chain of the necklace that I broke off of the end, put it into the hole, and then I also put it right onto the chain. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say here is it's not difficult. Jewelry making is something that, very basic jewelry making is something that pretty much anybody can do. It's just a matter of being able to use a pretty easy tool. I would recommend, though, that you get the jewelry making tool, because it really would be a lot trickier if you were trying to do that like with your pliers from the garage, or if you were trying to do it just with your hands, because I'm not sure you would be able to bend those chain pieces just using your fingers. It's very small. You want to have something like this that you can grab onto something tiny with. So this is what it looks like, and it's available at like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, the craft section at Walmart would have this. I'm not really sure what it's called, but if you went to the craft section and you said, hey, do you have that jewelry making tool that kind of looks like needle nose pliers, I'm sure they would know what you were talking about. In other news of things I made this week, so I've been making pom-poms. You probably know that by now, because I think I've mentioned them on the podcast before. But I had a friend who asked me if I could attach one to a keychain because her daughter wanted it for her backpack for school. So I put a little ring in this one, and then so it's attached with a lobster clasp. So that's my little keychain thing. So I could do this with some of my pom-poms, because this one in particular has really long fur, and that kind of helps to cover up the end. So let me see if I can get this to flatten out a little bit. So this is where all the magic happens. This is what I would consider the bottom of the pom-pom. And if you're putting it on a hat, that's great, because then it sits flat on your head. All of the fur kind of rises to the sides, and so it sits really nicely, and it looks really full. But if you're doing something like a keychain, you actually want the hair to kind of come all the way around. So if the hair is too short, it's not going to look good. There's going to be a flatness to the bottom. Since the hair is so long on this one, it's fine. Like the hair really does come all the way around. But anyway, I would only make keychains out of the ones that have extra long hair. So let's take a look, shall we? Because I think it's been a while since I've shown you pom-poms, and I have gotten some new ones. So the first, well, I think, all right. So did I show you the rainbow ones? The rainbow ones have all sorts of colors. It's like rainbow syrup, rainbow sherbet pom-pom. So this one, I mean, that's got pink, purple, blue, green, a little yellow on the side. That has a lot of colors. Usually they go maybe 3 or 4 colors. Here's another one. That one's got pink, purple, blue, green, yellow. And then I have some that are still this beautiful white fur, but are dyed single colors. So this is on a white fur base, but it's dyed this nice aqua blue. I have one that's lime green. Ooh. Ooh, they're looking very light on the screen. I wonder if I can get them to show up any darker. Yeah, so it's a little darker than that in real life. There. Oh, that's... is that a little closer? No. I don't know. The light's kind of funny. Anyway, so there's lime green. I have pink. There's the pink one. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, wouldn't that be cute? Cute. And I have a purple one. Right there. Purple. So, as you can see, white on the bottom, but purple tips. And let's see, there's more rainbowy ones in here. And I am not kidding when I say these are soft. These are the softest. This is the softest faux fur that I have ever encountered. And these are all exactly the same. This is all off the same sort of fur base. They are super soft. So yeah, if you're wondering like how soft are they are the softest. So those are definitely the softest. This gray is also super, super soft. And the gray, because the hair length is so long, see how much bigger this turned out? And they actually start as the same size cut of the fabric, but it's a longer fur. So these are much bigger. These are really big pom-poms. As to give you an idea of how big they are, here is my shorter hair gray faux fur pom-pom, also super, super soft, but it does have shorter hair length. The larger gray one has much longer hair length, and look how much bigger that is. It is a lot bigger. And this one, this is a much grayer gray. This one, I actually have trouble really saying if it's gray, like very light gray, or if it's kind of white. So I just called it silver. So this is a silver pom-pom with some black in there. The black is like on the inside and also out on the tips. But yeah, if you get this and you're like, that's not gray, that's white. It absolutely might be, but I don't know. I think it's because of the black. It makes it really hard to distinguish whether it's gray or whether it's white. But it really does have the overall effect of a gray or silverish, very light gray or silverish pom-pom. So that's what I'm calling it. Anyway, I love this one. Now, for all of you people that like a little color, how about fuchsia and black? Ooh, now the camera's making it seem very dark. I don't know. It's not as dark as it's looking on that camera to me. What if I put it like that? Is that better? I don't know. I'm not sure if it is. This is another big one. It's pretty similar in size, pretty similar in hair length. I might try making a keychain out of this one. I think that would probably work okay. Still very, very soft. It's not quite as soft as this one, but it's still really, really soft. I really am trying to move towards only selling pom-poms that are made from very soft, very realistic looking faux fur. So you'll see in my Etsy shop, anything that I have listed with the word luxury, that's going to be a really soft, really nice faux fur that's going to be hard to distinguish from just, regular real fur. There are still a few of the more, let's say, craft fur type pom-poms in the shop, just because I had gotten some early on that were fun colors, or like one of them has like silver sparkles in it. So those they have their place, but they are not anywhere near as nice of a quality as some of these other ones. I still carry brown ones. I've got dark brown. I've got this one, which if you hold it, let's see, can you see how that one's like a raccoon tail? Like the dyeing on it has the pattern of what you would think of as a raccoon. This one's just kind of uniformly darker brown. And then I also have, let's see if I can find it. I also have there we go, a lighter brown. A lighter brown. So there's all my brown family. And my other neutrals, I should say. Well, kind of naturals. This is my little bunny tail. And I haven't been able to find this, like the store that used to carry this fur no longer carries it. And so I might look for it online, but I'm not sure that I'm going to continue to carry these. So I have a few of these left where it's white. It's like a little bunny tail, white with a little beige mixed in there. But I'm not going to have these for much longer. It's pretty likely that that's what will happen. And then I also got this new one, and it is black and gray. So it's about half and half. The fur placement will vary a little bit on each one, but for the most part, they were each cut right on the line where half and half black and gray. So they're all going to be pretty similar to how this one looks. All right, I think I've shown you all the different colors that I offer right now, and I am still continuing to search high and low for soft, beautiful, fun faux furs. So I'm sure I'll have other things eventually that will pop up as well. Speaking of going to the craft store right after Christmas, when I was at Joann's, they had a really nice sale going on with some of their fabrics, and I found this knit fabric that I thought was fun. It's very it's like a sweatshirt fabric. So it's knit on the outside, and then the inside is like this fleecy, soft business. Although, I guess you could turn it inside out if you wanted. You could make this be the outside, but I want that to be what's against my skin because it's a lot softer than the outside fabric. So I'm going to be looking, and if you have any suggestions, if you're a person that sews and you want to leave me in the comments a suggestion on where I might find what I'm looking for, I would be so grateful. I know there are a lot of sellers of sewing patterns online, and I would like to try to jump into that and find one that's just kind of a loose sweatshirt with a wider neckline, like not necessarily one that's going to be falling off of me, but just kind of a scoop neck sweatshirt. That's what I'm hoping I'm going to be making out of this. And it'll be a challenge because since it's knit fabric, I'm going to have to use my double needle, and I haven't successfully done that yet because when I bought the double needle and then I realized I don't have two pegs on my sewing machine for the two threads that I would need to use it with. But then I saw somebody, they put it in, I think it was on the Fat Squirrel podcast. She was talking about having put her other thread bobbin or spool in just like a coffee cup or something like that. And that's what the machine was using it out of. So I thought, well, I could do that. Or I actually have a thread cabinet that sits right behind my sewing machine. So I think I could just leave the thread on one of the little pegs in the thread cabinet and then maybe use it that way. So there's definitely going to be some experimenting that has to go on. But I would love to sew this up into a loose, comfy sweatshirt. And it was half off at Joann's. I got 2 yards for I think it was $15. That's good price on nice fabric. Speaking of other products, so here's this was the kind of the funniest Christmas present that I got this year. My husband went online and he knows that I like this peanut brittle, but our grocery store in town stopped carrying it. It's Hammond's brand peanut crisps. They carry some other flavors where it's peanut brittle that has like chocolate or different things drizzled on it, but because of my lactose intolerance, I can't have that. So he went online and he was going to buy me a bag of the plain peanut brittle, and then he was like, well, as long as I'm buying it online and having it shipped, why not just get her a whole case? So I have 6 bags of this, and I don't know, it's only been a week and this one's almost gone, so I guess if I have 6 bags, it'll last me till February, right? So that was a fun Christmas present. That was very thoughtful of him, because he thought of that all on his own. I didn't even tell him to get me that, so that was nice. Another product that I was excited to find, and I think this was just yesterday or the day before, a couple days ago. It was time to replace my computer. I've had a MacBook Air since 2013, beginning of 2013, so for 4 years. And I would say about 6 or 9 months ago, the battery just, like, it was not working anymore. I couldn't unplug it from the power source. And in fact, every time it did get unplugged, it would shut down and I would have to restart the computer, which it's fine. Like, you got to restart your computer sometimes, but it is kind of annoying to have to do it every single time you open it up. The other bigger problem was that this is one of those magnetic power cords. If you're familiar with how MacBooks have been in the past, the power cord is it's a very strong magnet, but it's still a magnet. So it's not really fitting into your computer. It's just hovering on the side of the computer. And if it gets bumped with any force at all, it is going to disconnect it. So that's really annoying if your computer shuts down the instant the power is disconnected. So I've actually had, I would say, 2 to 3 times a week for the last 6 months, my power cord gets bumped, because I usually use my laptop just sitting on the couch. Maybe the cat jumps up next to me. Maybe I move my leg and it accidentally bumps, grabs the power cord and pulls it out. There's all sorts of scenarios where this happens. So it has gotten really irritating. So I was disappointed that the battery didn't last more than 3.5 years or so, and that's probably being generous. But I do like the ease of use. I feel like the user, the friendliness to the non-techie user is really important to me. I feel like I can do things on a computer, but I'm not, I have to search out the answers. I'm not someone that just goes, oh yeah, I know how to do this. Like, I don't know how to do it. I have to learn how to do it. So I feel like the Mac forums are very user-friendly to me. And there really hasn't been much that I haven't been able to figure out since getting the Mac that I use now. So I did want to stay with that same family of products, but I've been kind of hesitant to get a new one because I know that on the newer models, they are taking away the slots on the side for things like USB sticks and SD cards. And so I thought that was kind of important because on my MacBook Air, I bought one it was like the smallest memory. I think it was like 128 gigabytes. And I found very quickly that that was not enough memory for me. So I bought an SD card that you can stick into the side of your computer, and that actually tripled the memory. So it was a 256 gigabyte SD card. So now I have about 378 or something. And that was plenty. Like I hadn't filled that up, and I probably did that a year and a half ago. I increased the size. So in the last year and a half, I haven't had any trouble with bumping up against the limits of the memory. But I do notice that because my working RAM is 8 gigabytes, when I do things like try to process a video, I try to shrink the size, or I'm trying to upload, those sort of things really do slow down to the point where I try not to do anything else on the computer while those processes are running. So this time I just bit the bullet and I was like, I need to get the 16 gigabyte working RAM, and I need to get the big memory because I no longer have the option for the SD card extra memory because there's no SD card slot. I was also concerned because I use something called a bamboo tablet, and that's a little drawing tool. So if I'm say I want to draw a picture for, I think when I designed my smaller logo for my hat tags, my little garment tags, I used it. There were times, a lot of times, when I designed the fiber fist bumps buttons where I wanted to draw things, and so I used this bamboo tablet. It's just a maybe 12-inch by 6 or 8-inch metal tablet, and it has a surface that you can draw on with the pen that comes with it. Now, you don't actually see anything on the surface. It's like a stylus. But you can see what you're drawing on the screen, and you can use all sorts of different painting, drawing, airbrushing, like all those kind of techniques. So I guess it's like a Microsoft Office Paint. Do they still have that program? Like, I remember doing that program a long time ago. And you do different kind of colors, and it's a very easy to use drawing tablet, but it plugs into the side of my computer through a USB. So I was like, oh, am I going to have to replace that now? And like, do they even have a wireless bamboo tablet? I'm sure they will if they don't already, because if Apple's going to everything connects wirelessly, then I guess everybody's going to have to make it wireless. But right now, that's what I have. So I didn't really want to have to buy that again. And like, I have a camera, the nice camera that I take, like the Canon camera, the DSLR camera that I take pictures with. That plugs into my computer with a USB. And so I was like, well, I want to download my pictures onto the computer. So what do? Long story short, here's what you do. So right now, to get us through until everything's wireless, they are making this device that has all the ports that you need. So there's the USB, there's the SD card, and what's that? That's just like the little like lightning cable. The outlets in the side of your computer now, there's 2 little outlets. So they call them USB-C ports. And that's what the little things are in the side of the computer now. So there still are a couple of slots, but it's USB-C. And the USB 3, that's the USB stick that you probably are familiar with. That's like a rectangle. It's maybe a 1/2 inch wide and, not very deep at all. Those 2 things are there, and I showed you the SD card. There's also this little slot, and they call that one the micro SD. So I don't know. I'm not sure what uses that. I don't have anything that would plug into that. But anyway, so you can plug this into the side of your computer, and then you can plug all of your whatever devices in. So it is kind of an extra thing. It is kind of a hassle, but at least I can still use my other technology with this new computer, so that was a relief, and that's honestly what I needed to get me to pull the trigger to just upgrade the computer. So I'm still recording this podcast on my old computer because I haven't had time in the last 2 days to set up my new computer, but hopefully in 2 weeks when I do another podcast, it'll be on the new one, and who knows, maybe like the screen is supposed to have a better resolution, so I don't know if that means that the video itself is a better resolution. I don't know if that'll show up on YouTube or on iTunes, but I don't know. It'll be an experiment, so we'll see. So those are my 2 products that thrilled me this week. And the last thing I was going to talk about was just New Year's. So I am not a New Year's resolution sort of person. I'm kind of if I want to do something, I'll just do it, even if it's May. Even if it's November, I'll just do it. So I don't really make resolutions. But there is something that I did start doing a couple years ago, and this will surprise my husband because he doesn't know that I did this. I don't think I mentioned it. But a couple years ago, I follow the Money Saving Mom on Facebook. I think is where I see. I used to read her blog a lot, but now that I spend more time on Facebook than on blogs, I follow her there. And I think I got this idea from her. She decided to come up with a word that was kind of her focus for the year. And I thought that was a good idea because there are certainly, it's not exactly a resolution. It's not like I'm going to not drink soda or I'm going to exercise 3 times a week or whatever. I'm not super interested in coming up with things like that I'm going to, make myself do, like habits that I want to form. But I think that it is helpful to me to kind of take a moment and reassess and think about, what worked for the year, what didn't work for the year, what parts of my life I feel like are in balance, are in working well, and what parts could use some work and need to grow. And so last year was 2 years ago, I think I did this, but I couldn't remember earlier when I was thinking about this. I couldn't remember what the word was that I started with that year, but I do remember what I started with, or what word I used last year, and that word was grace. And it was more aimed at having grace for myself, only because, not saying I don't have grace for other people, but my challenge is that I am I'm a person that sets very high standards for herself. And I am much more understanding and forgiving of other people. And honestly, the reason is because I just don't, I don't feel like your business is my business. As long as it's not negatively affecting me, I'm just much more likely to walk away if something bothers me than to stand there and argue with you about it. So I don't feel like I have a lack of grace for other people. But when it comes to myself, because I feel like I have pretty high standards that I want to live up to, I do sometimes tend to get frustrated or, feel like, oh, I'm not living up to this or that. And so last year I felt like this year is going to be all about learning to just kind of be where I am, accept what I can do, what I can't do, and just kind of give myself some grace. And I found that really helpful throughout the year. I don't know if I've talked much about this on the podcast, but I have Crohn's disease. And I was diagnosed with that. 2010, I was diagnosed with a different chronic illness. It actually wasn't that, but it kind of, it's sometimes hard to tell Crohn's from a couple of other things. So finally in 2013, when the thing that they thought I had flared up really bad, and that was a bad year for my health, for my family, everybody that was close to me had a rough year that year because of my health. So I'm very glad that, I have bounced back a lot from that, but there still is, it's kind of a residual having to learn what the new reality is. So I don't like that Crohn's disease places certain limitations on me, but as I have learned to live with it more and kind of gotten into the swing of what sort of rest I need and, how much I can handle and where I'm comfortable, because if you know anything about Crohn's disease, it's an inflammatory chronic illness. It attacks your digestive system. And a lot of people probably think oh, it's you poop all the time. Well, yes, sometimes that's how it manifests itself, but it's actually a lot more than that. So and it's great because it can affect all sorts of parts of your body, not just your digestive tract. For me, the parts that I struggle with the most are my skin, my eyes, and just general energy. So just think about how tired you are, if you've worked a long week and, it's Friday night and you just don't have the energy to go out you want to go spend time with your friends, but you are just beat. So that's how most regular days are for me. I do my best to conserve my energy when I do have a day that, I want to go out and do something. Maybe I'll sleep in that day, or maybe I'll take a nap, or maybe I just won't really do anything during the day so that I still have some energy when it comes to the evening. So energy is a real issue with me, and that's something that last year, that was what I was trying to learn to give myself some grace for. It's not what I chose, but it's where I'm at. So I try to be as understanding to myself as I would be if that was my friend telling me I really want to see you, but I just can't make it out of the house tonight. So it's funny because, we are a lot more understanding sometimes with other people than we are with ourselves. So, anyway, so with skin, Crohn's can attack your skin because of the inflammation that's just kind of going on in your whole body. So for me, sometimes, actually, it's something that I used to struggle with a lot was swelling and cysts and just general skin craziness, breakouts and that kind of stuff, which, it's not that big a deal, but still when you're 40 years old and you have breakouts that are like really obvious. It's not great. It's not my favorite thing. And then for eyes, it actually it can the inflammation can get into your tear ducts, and like I have to use a couple of different eye drops, and like that feeling when you get like sand in your eye, or you just feel like, oh, I've got an eyelash, or there's something in my eye. Well, there are like I might go 2 weeks where every minute of every day I feel like there's something in my eye. So it's not great. It's what I'm saying. But it is something. It's funny what you can learn to live with when you have to. So it's it was helpful for me to focus on giving myself grace, accepting what I can do and making the best of what I can do, and just kind of being forgiving about the things that I need to let go of. This year, on a happier note, I've decided that my word for this year is grow. So part of the flip side of this grace is that it does kind of make me more forgiving of just wanting to sit at home and not doing anything, and I'll just stay here and rest up for what I don't know because I'm not doing anything. So this year I want to try to push myself a little bit more to grow in a few ways, and I do have a few things in mind, and but I'm curious to see how I'll apply that throughout the year. So this year I'm going to work on growing. I also, at the end of the year, rather than doing resolutions, I try to think about over the last year, like what sort of things am I happy that we did or that went well, and what sort of things didn't go so great and I could do better on. So I did think of a couple things that I can work on, and one is time management. I think, and if you're a person that works from home, like I know you're right here with me, if you work from home, there is no separation unless you force there to be a separation between like, here I am with my family and here I am as a person working. I love that I can work from home. I love that I can get up and do my work in my pajamas, and I can do my work at 8 o'clock at night if that's where I have more energy. I can sleep in if I need to. All those things are great and really work well in my situation. The thing that doesn't work great is that some days, if I just, if the opportunity presents itself, oh, I have a couple orders on my Etsy shop, I'll just get those ready right now. Well, maybe I could be cooking dinner, or maybe I could be spending a little time with my kids doing something. And so it is easy to just go, oh, well, I'm just going to do this work and not live my life. So I do need to work on balancing time a little bit more. The other thing, and this is kind of ties in with that, the other thing that I kind of let the ball drop on this year and that I would like to get back to is using my journal / scheduling book. I used to, so I think I have like maybe 1 or 2 successful months of this written in here. But I used to make a calendar, and so there's my January calendar, and I've got my list here, and these are all the things that I wanted to accomplish in January. And I like this because here's another thing that happens, and I don't know if this is Crohn's or if it's the medication that I take for Crohn's, but sometimes my brain, like the wheels are turning so slow. I've heard this referred to as brain fog, but there are days where I wake up and like, I can't think worth anything. So it's very helpful in those moments of clarity and knowing what I want to do to write down a list, because then on those mornings where I'm like, what's going on? I can't think. I can still read. I can read this list and I go, okay, today I have no brain power. So I can still pay my credit card bill. I can still take those boxes to Goodwill. So I can kind of make a list. And then on the days where I'm feeling like good and my brain is working, then I can say, okay, well, let's see. I need to, let's see, this wasn't a very brain. Oh, here we go. Calculate stitch counts for sweater vest. Guess what? I never did that. That's right. I've had a sweater vest pattern made for like a year and a half, and I still haven't finished writing the pattern. It's like, I think it's written. All I need to do is calculate the numbers for the stitches. So, brain fog. All right, so anyway, so I can wake up and I can do a difficult task like that on the days that I feel like I'm up to it. So it is helpful for me to do that. So I've got January, and then, oh, here's February. I made the calendar. I even wrote a couple of appointments in, but no list. No list for February. No list for March or April. Oh, May. Looks like I started to get back to it. But then, June. There's June. So, and then I didn't even make a calendar for the next 3 months because the next time is October. And look, I got back to it in October, but then, that's all. No more calendars. So what? So for the last 2 months, I guess I haven't done anything. So I would like to get back to that, and that's only really part of my journal. So I've got the monthly calendars. My other sections are design ideas. So as things kind of occur to me, maybe it's just a stitch pattern. Maybe it's the name of a pattern. Maybe it's a yarn that I want to use. Or maybe I saw something and I drew a little sketch of like, make a hem like this or do the collar like this. So these are just a bunch of ideas. And if I'm kind of feeling like I want to design something, but I don't really know what I want to do, I can look at my design ideas and that can give me some inspiration. I have some lists of things I want to check out. I've got TV and movies, books, internet sites, objects that I might want to get. I have like just random lists like pertaining to my life. Here's a list about different websites that I can look at or have my son look at for scholarships for college. I've got a list of someday I'd like to do some things, some long-term projects around the house, some questions to ask my doctor. I have a list of medications that I'm allergic to. The list of chores around the house and how much we pay the kids to do those chores. I have a list of gift ideas for myself because the people, well, my husband especially, he likes to get my input. So anyway, a bunch of lists like that. I also have gift lists for the people in my life, and as I think of things, I write them down. I've got a section for future dates. If they're far enough out that they're not going to go on this month's calendar, I could put them there. Or, I mean, honestly, I do use a Google Calendar on my phone, too, so there is that. And then on the back of it, I have like a gratitude section where I've written down things I'm thankful for because I do try to stay aware of the good things that I have in my life. And so that's kind of a basic overview of what's in my journal. Do you use a bullet journal or some sort of scheduling journaling book? Okay, so those are the two things, the time management and the scheduling journaling thing that did not go so great last year, but that maybe will go a little bit better now that I'm thinking about it for this year. And then the two things that I was really excited about that we did in this past year, so the first one, and so somehow both of these things kind of had to do with budgeting and money and financial stuff, which I don't know, like, because I was raised in the society where you don't talk about money, it feels a little weird to talk about it. But then as I thought about it, I thought, well, I'm not really talking about it to like brag or to, boast about it. Like I really thought I would share this because I thought they were good ideas. They worked for us. I found value in them. And so maybe somebody else would find value in them. So the first thing that we started doing, and we've only been doing this for a few months, but I hope that it continues. We have started involving our kids and being more consistent about charitable giving. So a few months ago, we told the kids we're going to have like a competition. So every month, 2 out of the 4 of us are going to each come up with an idea of where we can give that month's charity money to. And we're supposed to tell the family, this is the charity. And honestly, it doesn't necessarily have to be a charity. It could be any sort of need that you are aware of. So in one instance, it was that someone that we know, their house burned down, and so there was like someone in town had started a GoFundMe page for that family. So in that month, it wasn't a charity that we gave it to, it was that family's GoFundMe page. So it could be any sort of legitimate financial need that somebody in our family is aware of. So you say, this is what I think we should give the money to, and this is why. And then after both people give their little shtick about what they want to give it to, then all four of us vote, and we do a secret ballot. And you don't necessarily have to vote for yourself. If you were one of the presenters, but you think that the other person came up with a better idea, you should vote for the other person. So for the first 2 months, one or the other of the things that were presented won at least 3 of our votes, and so we sent the whole amount there. Now, last month, it tied. So when there's 4 people in the family, that's probably going to happen. So we had 2 votes for one thing and 2 votes for the other. So I think it was last month, the kid that presented said they want to give it to TAPS, which is our no-kill animal shelter. And my husband was the adult that presented. So he had decided, because it was, what's it called? Like Crohn's and colitis month, inflammatory bowel disease month. He decided that we should give it to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. And so each of those 2 things got 2 votes. And so we just split the money and we sent half to each charity. So that's something that I'm really happy that we started doing that. In the past, my husband and I, we certainly have, given charitably, but we have not been great at being consistent about it. And we also have not taken the opportunity to really involve the kids in it. And so I think that involving the kids will not only keep us accountable and keep, they're going to say, if they haven't heard anything about those charity presentations for a month or 2, they might be like, hey, what's up with that? So it will force us to be more consistent. But it also, I think it sets a good example for the kids that this is something we do. And also this is something that, you have some input in, and it starts them thinking about what they can do to help out their community. So I was really happy about that. The other thing that we did this year that we were both really happy about and that we had kind of planned to do for a long time is that we got our mortgage paid off. So I don't know, that kind of feels kind of weird to announce that on a podcast, but here's the reason that I'm saying that. We still live in the house that we bought when we were 1 year out of college. So I know a lot of people, you buy your first house and you go, oh, this is our starter home. And then you buy a bigger house and you pay more and you have more in property taxes. And we really have gotten close 2 different times to, we had picked out plans for houses. One of those times we had talked to a builder. We had looked into getting lots or a lot. And so we really did get close a couple times to moving to a different house. But the thing that pulled us back was that we kept saying, wouldn't it be nice if, right now, if we stay in the house that we're in and we plan on just paying on schedule, we will have this house paid off the school year where our oldest child is a senior in high school. And so that would put us in a position where that money would be freed up so that when he's in college, we'll have that extra money that's free. So I say this not as a brag, but as an encouragement that if you're a person that feels like, oh, I'm in this house, but maybe I want to get a bigger house, or maybe I want to move to a different part of town, there is a lot of value in security and being able to be freer with your money. And one of the ways you can do that is by paying off your debt. And so if you are wavering between maybe I should pay off my debt or maybe we should move it to a bigger house, if we had 6 kids, this would not be a great house for us. But because of the life that we have chosen, we have 2 kids, we have a 3-bedroom house that we bought a year after we graduated college, and it just worked out well for us that we were able to make this a debt that we could cross off right before our first kid goes to college. So I'm really happy about that. This coming year, we are on schedule to pay off our student loan debt, because that is certainly our student loan debt was way less than our house, what we paid for the house. But we just stretched out our student loan payments so that they were the minimum payments for like a million years. So really, like, we did graduate 20 years ago. So 20 years out, we're going to have this paid off. And right before our kid goes to college. So that's something that I'm also looking forward to crossing off the books for this year. So don't feel like you have to always have the biggest and the best and the newest. You know, there's another way. There's another way to be, and it is, you know, it has its own list of benefits, one of which is freedom and being able to do more of what you want to do when you have that money freed off. So one of our big goals has always been that we want to help our kids get through college with the least amount of debt as we can. So paying off our house before they go to college was a big part of that and a good step in the right direction. So I just say this to encourage you that if there are debts that you can pay off rather than incurring more debts, it might be worth it. You might feel really good about that, and you might be in the same position where you are freed up to be able to do more of what you want with your money. All right. So that's the year in review and the year ahead, what I'm hoping. Word of the year is grow. If you do a word of the year, or if you have some kind of resolution, I would love to hear what it is. So leave me a comment or send me a message, and I would love to hear what other people are planning. And I don't know. I don't do resolutions, so I don't have any knitting resolutions. Do you have knitting resolutions? I just kind of knit whatever floats my boat, whatever I see that I like, or whatever I design that I think I want to do. That's kind of where I go with that. I don't really plan ahead too much, but I'm very curious what everybody else is up to, so let me know. All right. I think that's all I have for this time. I hope you have a great New Year's Eve, and I will see you in a couple weeks. Adios. Bye.